Hello, friends. Today we will learn about the United States of America, also called the USA or America. This is a big and important country where many people from around the world go to live and work. Maybe you want to go there someday, or maybe you live there now and want to learn more. The United States has a special flag with red and white stripes and white stars on a blue square. It has 50 stars because there are 50 states in the USA. Let's start our journey to learn about this interesting country, its land, its people, its history, and what makes it special. The United States is a very big country. It is the third largest country in the world after Russia and Canada. It is located in North America between Canada and Mexico. The USA touches two big oceans. On the east side is the Atlantic Ocean. On the west side is the Pacific Ocean. In the south, there is the Gulf of Mexico. The land in the USA has many different kinds of places. High mountains called the Rocky Mountains in the west, flat land called the Great Plains in the middle, big forests in the east and northwest, hot deserts in the southwest, cold, snowy areas in the north, warm, sunny beaches in the south. There are also many important rivers in the USA. The Mississippi River is very long and goes through the middle of the country. The Missouri River joins the Mississippi. The Colorado River made the Grand Canyon. The Hudson River goes past New York City. In the north, the USA shares five big lakes with Canada. They are called the Great Lakes: Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. These lakes have so much water they look like oceans. The USA has different weather in different places. In the north, winters are very cold with lots of snow. In the south, it is warm most of the year. The middle part has four seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. The United States is divided into 50 states. Each state is like a small country with its own government, but all states are part of one big country. We can group the states into regions. The Northeast has states like New York and Massachusetts. The South has states like Florida and Texas. The Midwest has states like Illinois and Ohio. The West has states like California and Colorado. Each state has its own flag, its own capital city, and sometimes its own special foods and traditions. States can be very different sizes. Alaska is the biggest state. It is huge. Rhode Island is the smallest state. It is very tiny. States also have special symbols. For example, Florida is called the Sunshine State. California is called the Golden State. Texas is called the Lone Star State. Two states are not connected to the others. Alaska is in the far northwest near Canada. Hawaii is a group of islands in the Pacific Ocean. You need to take a plane to visit these states. Long before the United States became a country, many different groups of people already lived on this land. We call them Native Americans or indigenous peoples. These first peoples lived in many different groups called tribes. Each tribe had its own language, customs, and way of life. Some of the larger groups were the Navajo and Pueblo peoples in the southwest, the Lakota and Cheyenne in the plains, the Cherokee and Seminole in the southeast, the Iroquois and Algonquin in the northeast, the Chinook and Haida in the northwest. Native Americans lived in different kinds of homes depending on where they were. In the plains, some lived in cone-shaped tents called teepees that could be moved. In the southwest, some built houses from clay and stone. In the northeast, some built longhouses from wood and bark. In the northwest, some built wooden houses with tall posts. The first peoples knew the land very well. They hunted animals for food and clothes, grew corn, beans, and squash, fished in rivers and lakes, gathered wild plants for food and medicine, told stories to teach important lessons. Today, about 5 million Native Americans live in the United States. Many live on special lands called reservations. They work to keep their languages and traditions alive while also being part of modern America. About 500 years ago, people from Europe came across the Atlantic Ocean. The first explorers came from Spain, England, France, and other countries. The Europeans built small towns along the east coast. These towns were called colonies. Each colony was controlled by a different European country. One famous group was the Pilgrims, who came on a ship called the Mayflower in 1620. They started Plymouth Colony in what is now Massachusetts. They came looking for religious freedom. At first, some Native Americans helped the new people learn how to grow food and survive. But soon, there were problems. The Europeans wanted more and more land. They brought diseases that made many Native Americans sick. By the 1700s, England had 13 colonies along the East Coast. These colonies would later become the first states of the United States. Life in the colonies was hard. People built wooden houses, farmed the land, made most things by hand, traveled by horse or boat, had few schools or hospitals. People in the colonies came from many places: England, Scotland, Ireland, Germany, the Netherlands, and Africa. Some came by choice for a new life. Others, like people from Africa, were forced to come as slaves. After many years, the people in the 13 colonies became unhappy with England. England made them pay high taxes, but did not let them vote or make decisions. In 1773, in Boston, people threw tea from English ships into the water. This was called the Boston Tea Party. It was a way to say, "We are angry about these taxes." On July 4th, 1776, leaders from the colonies signed an important paper called the Declaration of Independence. This paper said the colonies were now free from England. This is why Americans celebrate July 4th as Independence Day. England did not want to lose the colonies. A war started called the Revolutionary War, or the American War of Independence. It lasted from 1775 to 1783. A man named George Washington led the American army. He became the first president later. The Americans had a hard time because the English army was bigger and stronger. Other countries like France helped the Americans. Finally, the Americans won the war. England agreed that the colonies were now a new independent country, the United States of America. The new country started with just 13 states along the East Coast. Today, it has 50 states that cover much more land. In 1787, leaders met to write rules for the new country. They wrote the Constitution of the United States. This important document says how the government works and what rights people have. The United States government has three main parts. The president leads the country, executive branch. The Congress makes laws, legislative branch. The Supreme Court decides if laws are fair, judicial branch. George Washington became the first president in 1789. He was so respected that people wanted him to be king, but he said no. He believed the people should choose their leaders. The new country started to grow bigger. In 1803, they bought a huge piece of land from France called the Louisiana Purchase. In 1819, they got Florida from Spain. In 1845, Texas joined after being its own country. In 1848, they got land from Mexico, including California. In 1867, they bought Alaska from Russia. In 1898, Hawaii became part of the United States. Many people moved west looking for land and new opportunities. They traveled in covered wagons and later by train. This was very hard for the Native Americans who already lived there. From the beginning, there was a big problem in the United States: slavery. Many black people were forced to work with no pay and no freedom, especially in the southern states. The North and South were becoming very different. The North had more cities and factories. The South had more farms and plantations. The South wanted to keep slavery, but many people in the North thought slavery was wrong. In 1860, a man named Abraham Lincoln became president. He thought slavery should not spread to new states. The southern states were so angry, they decided to leave the United States and form their own country. This led to a terrible war called the Civil War from 1861 to 1865. Americans fought other Americans. About 620,000 people died. During the war, President Lincoln made an important announcement called the Emancipation Proclamation. It said that enslaved people in the southern states were now free. The North won the war, and the country stayed together. Slavery ended everywhere in the United States. But freedom did not mean equality. Black Americans would continue to fight for equal rights for many years. From the 1800s until today, many people from around the world have moved to the United States. We call these people immigrants. They came looking for better lives, jobs, freedom, or to escape problems in their home countries. People came from many places. Ireland and Germany in the 1840s and 1850s, China in the 1850s and 1860s, Italy, Poland, and Russia in the early 1900s, Mexico, Central America, and South America more recently. Countries in Asia like India, the Philippines, and Vietnam, countries in Africa and the Middle East. Between 1892 and 1954, over 12 million immigrants came through a place called Ellis Island in New York Harbor. They would see the Statue of Liberty as their ships arrived. This statue became a symbol of hope and freedom. Immigrants helped build the United States. They built railroads across the country, worked in factories and mines, started businesses and restaurants, brought new foods, music, and ideas, became doctors, scientists, artists, and leaders. Today, about 45 million people living in the United States were born in other countries. Each year, about 700,000 people become new citizens in a special ceremony. Over time, the United States grew from a new, small country to one of the most powerful countries in the world. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, the United States built many factories. Cities grew bigger as people moved from farms to find jobs. The country made steel, cars, and many other things. In 1917, the United States joined World War I, helping the Allied countries defeat Germany and its partners. In 1929, the United States had a big economic problem called the Great Depression. Many people lost their jobs and homes. The government created new programs to help people. In 1941, after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, the United States joined World War II. American soldiers fought in Europe, North Africa, and the Pacific. The war ended in 1945. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union, now Russia, were the two most powerful countries. They did not fight directly, but they competed for influence around the world. This was called the Cold War. During this time, the United States and Soviet Union raced to explore space. In 1969, American astronauts were the first people to walk on the moon. Even though slavery ended after the Civil War, Black Americans still faced many unfair laws and treatment, especially in the South. Many public places were segregated, meaning Black and white people had to use different schools, restaurants, and even drinking fountains. In 1955, a Black woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white person in Montgomery, Alabama. This led to a boycott where Black people stopped using buses. It was one of the first big events in what became known as the Civil Rights Movement. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. became an important leader in this movement. He believed in peaceful protest. In 1963, he gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech in Washington, D.C., where he talked about a future where all people would be treated equally. In 1964, the government passed the Civil Rights Act, which made segregation illegal. In 1965, the Voting Rights Act made it easier for Black Americans to vote. Women also fought for equal rights. Until 1920, women could not vote in most states. The women's movement continued in the 1960s and 1970s as women worked for equal pay and opportunities. Many other groups have worked for fair treatment. Native Americans have fought for their land rights and cultural preservation. Hispanic Americans have worked for immigrant rights and recognition. LGBTQ+ Americans have worked for equal treatment and marriage rights. People with disabilities have worked for access and opportunities. The United States is still working to give all people equal rights and opportunities. There are still problems to solve, but many people continue to work for positive change. Today, about 335 million people live in the United States. It is a country with many different kinds of people, foods, music, and ideas. People in the USA come from all over the world and have many different backgrounds. This mix of cultures makes American food, music, art, and celebrations very diverse. The United States is known for technology and innovation. Companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon started here. Many important inventions like the telephone, airplane, and internet were developed in America. The American economy is the largest in the world. People work in many different fields: technology and computers, healthcare and medicine, education, manufacturing, agriculture, entertainment and movies, business and finance. Some important symbols and places in America include the White House, where the president lives, the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor, the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, the Grand Canyon in Arizona, Hollywood in California where movies are made, the bald eagle, which is the national bird. The United States is a country with a complicated history. It has both good parts and difficult parts. It is still changing and growing. Many immigrants move to the United States because it is known as a land of opportunity, a place where people believe they can work hard and build better lives. If you want to live in the United States or just visit, learning English will help you talk with people, find work, understand American culture, and enjoy your time there. Thank you for learning about the United States of America with us today. We hope you enjoyed this journey through America's land, people, and story.